for this relationship to turn into tangible cooperation is moving forward, and I think today's series of meetings is another step along that road. As you know, earlier we met in a bilateral with both President Zardari and President Karzai, and then we had the large delegations meeting. So let me just quickly run through some of what occurred, and then I'd be glad to take your questions. I met early this morning at the Willard Hotel with President Zardari and had a chance to see for the first time in 10 years his son, Bilawal Zardari, actually Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. I had not seen him since he was a young boy. And so it was really a personal call that I wanted to make on both of them. At the formal bilateral that I held with President Zardari at the State Department, I reaffirmed our government's strong support for him as the democratically elected president. Being able to say democratically elected president of Pakistan is not a common phrase. And I think it's imperative that we support President Zardari and work with him as he extends the reach of the government, not only on security, as essential as that is, but also on the range of needs of the Pakistani people. With President Karzai, it was a very future-oriented conversation. We talked about the necessity to take real concrete actions to make the kind of progress that Afghanistan desperately needs to see, to really deliver for the people of the country. In both meetings, I thought each president was very forthcoming. We discussed a range of issues that are important going forward, but we kept the focus on what we're actually going to do. I told each that coming out of this trilateral meeting, we will basically have work plans. We're going to be very specific. We don't want any misunderstanding. We don't want any mixed signals. We want to know what we have agreed to, what they have agreed to, how we're going to proceed toward meeting those goals and objectives, and timetables that will be utilized to keep all of us focused on the job ahead. At the trilateral meeting, we had very distinguished delegations from both countries. In addition, Secretary Vilsack, Director Panetta, Director Mueller, Deputy Secretary Jack Lew, Ambassador Holbrooke, Ambassador Ann Patterson, Undersecretary Flournoy, Acting Administrator of USAID Fulgham, and General Petraeus. The format of the meetings were to hear from our Obama administration officials with the specifics of what the next day's meetings tomorrow will focus on in each instance. So, for example, Secretary Vilsack kicked it off because, as you know from our strategic review, we think it's imperative to focus on the agricultural sector. We certainly intend to provide assistance with issues ranging from water rights to anti-erosion measures to specific seeds that can grow alternative crops in Afghanistan to continue to help the agricultural sector in Pakistan as well. I thought it was a very significant meeting, in some ways a breakthrough meeting. The high-level participation from our government was very important, and the high-level participation from each of the delegations. A number of the comparable ministers had never met each other. They may have talked on the phone about border security or police training or intelligence sharing, but they hadn't actually met in several instances. I was extremely impressed by the candor that was really evidenced throughout the meeting. And it was a physical manifestation of our strategy of viewing Afghanistan and Pakistan as a regional challenge, but also a regional opportunity. The Trade Transit Agreement Memorandum of Understanding that was signed today commits both countries to finalizing a trade transit agreement that deals with all of the obstacles and problems of goods and people crossing borders. It was started 43 years ago, and we're determined to bring it to a resolution. The kind of economic development that will spring up if we see increased trade and commerce between the two countries is one of the best ways that we can provide alternatives for those who might otherwise be dragged into this conflict. We will continue these meetings at the ministerial level. When tomorrow the people of both delegations meet with their counterparts in our government, they will be setting up very specific follow-on planning. I'm very optimistic that this process is making a difference. I'm realistic enough to know that two meetings does not necessarily turn around the many difficult and complex challenges that confront these two countries and us in our relationship to them. One of the comments that was made struck me, that geography binds us, but we were not connected before. They basically stood on both sides of a border that neither agrees to because it was imposed on them. It was not ever reached by the governments of either country, and yet they have so much both in common, and they face this common threat, and they have to make common cause to reach a common objective. Both presidents spoke very movingly about the threat and dangers of terrorism. I think that they are committed to this conflict being resolved, and they're being able to produce more peace and security. An ancient Afghan proverb says, "Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet." I think that patience is not always in great supply inside our own government or even inside our own country. But I think in this instance, the kind of patient strategy that the President has adopted and the steps that we are all taking to implement this strategy is the only way forward. It may not give you a story every day, but hopefully it will give us all a better story next year and the years to come. So I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to make these short comments, and I'd be glad to answer your questions.
Jennifer.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. You talked about this being a breakthrough and about the focus being on what you can do, what you will do, specific things. So can you list any specific things that either leader agreed to go back to their country and do to make the kinds of changes that are so desperately needed?
There were such commitments, but I think we would rather talk about those after conferring with each of the presidents, and probably at the end of this two-day process, because there have been commitments made. There will be much more in-depth work done tomorrow to see how we're going to realize the way forward on those commitments, and I think it would be more appropriate to wait to talk specifically.
Can you speak then on behalf of this country and
Yes.
perhaps what the administration is committing to that we haven't already seen in these plans?
Right. Well, some of it is very specific. If you look at agriculture, we're going to establish a training program, the Borlaug Fellows Training Program. You remember Norm Borlaug was one of the architects of the Green Revolution, which transformed life in India and in other places. And we're going to do intensive training with Pakistani and Afghani agricultural experts and researchers and policymakers. We're going to establish a trilateral body to identify the cross-border water issues, one of the critical issues as to whether agriculture can be revitalized, particularly in Afghanistan. With respect to economic commitments, both Afghanistan and Pakistan confirmed their commitment to the Central Asia, South Asia Energy Agreement. We're going to press ahead to try to help alleviate some of the blockades that exist for both countries getting reliable sources of energy, particularly electricity. The Trade Transit Agreement is a commitment to a timeline to adopt customs harmonization strategy, pass legislation, and create the institutions necessary to prevent illegal transshipments, finalize the Reconstruction Opportunity Zones that are part of the Kerry-Lugar legislation. We are also looking to deepen our work on the cross-border issues, joint parliamentary exchanges and military training, border coordination centers. We want broader-based law enforcement reform, a vigorous anti-corruption agenda that removes the impunity that too often has existed in the past. And they committed to vigorous judicial reform and counterterrorism legislation. We have a common task and a common challenge.
Why can't we see that we are all in this together?